Val Emmons Show, where freedom is cool and political correctness is for sissies.
And hello everyone, I'm Val Emmons, and today on the Val Emmons Show, as usual, we have a lot to talk about. And you can weigh in on any of today's topics on the Facebook page. You should know that by now, but if not, www.facebook.com/Val Emmons. Send me a tweet to @ValEmmons. I want to start out talking about the Nightmare on Healthcare, or the Nightmare on Health Street update, which is what I'm now calling it. That's copywritten. No, it's not, but anyway, it will be. No, I'm kidding. So apparently, a 48-year-old self-employed court reporter referenced by Barack Obama as a beneficiary of his Affordable Care Act during a recent address has learned that she's one of the latest Americans to be duped by another Obamacare false promise. From the White House Rose Garden late last month, President Obama read a letter he received from Jessica Sanford, a Washington state single mom who had recently found out that the president's Hallmark health care plan would cost her a fraction of what she's previously paid to cover herself and her son. Let's listen to that real quick. I'm going to play that for you, what he said. Here we go.
I recently received a letter from a woman named Jessica Sanford in Washington State. Here's what she wrote. I am a single mom, no child support, self-employed, and I haven't had insurance for 15 years because it's too expensive. I was crying the other day when I signed up. So much stress lifted.
Now, this story broke yesterday on CNN. I believe it was yesterday. But I want to read to you what Jessica's statements were. I imagine that she's finding out now that she can't afford her health care. She says, I am a single mom, no child support, self-employed, and I haven't had insurance for 15 years because it's too expensive. That's what she told Obama. Unfortunately for Sanford, that stress-free experience was rather short-lived. It has now been reported that shortly after she sent that letter to the president, Sanford was informed that a glitch on the Washington State Exchange, an enrollment website, caused the cost of coverage to be grossly underestimated. Imagine that. According to CNN, Sanford was one of the thousands of Washingtonians who was later told that the faulty website miscalculated her cost and erroneously informed her that she had qualified for a hefty tax credit. The exchange would like to sincerely apologize to Jessica Sanford. And there are a lot of damn apologies going along around here, right? Seriously? You think an apology is going to get people through suffering? Anyway, well, I'm going to keep my composure. The exchange would like to sincerely apologize to Jessica Sanford and all those affected in Washington State by this error. Washington Health Benefit Exchange CEO Richard Onizuka said in a statement provided to the CNN, unfortunately, Jessica Sanford is one of the individuals who is affected by this tax credit miscalculation. Sanford reached out to CNN and said that she likely won't be signing up for health care under the ACA because the actual cost of coverage for her and her son would be nowhere near as low as she originally thought it would, or what she was told either. I'm not getting insurance unless I pay more than I'm willing to pay, Sanford said. I've always been in this middle place. I make too much, but I don't make enough. And folks, those are the people that are trapped, okay? Those are the people that this is going to affect the most. The people that don't make enough to qualify for any subsidy, and the people that make just too much to be able to afford it. And I've said this all along since 2009, before the bill even passed. I've said this. You can go back and look at all my Facebook posts about Obamacare. This is such a bad bill, and it needs to be repealed. But in response to this, the White House Press Secretary Jay Carney, we love him, said, we are certainly sorry. Ooh, another sorry. Yes, you are sorry. Very sorry. Anyway, we are certainly sorry as we can be that Jessica is one of the folks that has been affected by this. As weeks' worth of news articles have indicated, however, Miss Sanford is far from the only American upset with the ACA. Not only were Washington state residents who attempted to buy coverage during the first 23 days of the website launch offered inaccurate figures, but glitches on the national website have made the president's Hallmark plan the laughingstock of his administration so far. According to ABC News, Washington Post poll released on Tuesday this week, Americans disapprove of Obama's handling of the act's implementation by a roughly 2-to-1 and a majority of the public. 57% opposes the law overall. That 2-to-1, the ones that are happy with it are ones that are getting free birth control while everyone else is paying for it. All right, so enough of that. I just, I told you so's are coming now. And so, I told you so. Anyway, I had to get that out. I had Tourette's. And here we go again. All right, Reuters reports that the Obama administration warned today it would likely begin defaulting on its obligations within a month of February 7th if Congress does not raise a cap on the government borrowing by then. Obama signed into law a bill last month that suspended a $16.7 trillion cap on the national debt until February 7th, when it'll reset to whatever level the debt has reached. And absent a decision to raise it again, the Treasury Department has tools known as extraordinary measures to manage its cash a little longer before it starts missing payments, but there's no indication right now that the extraordinary measures would last longer than a month, a Treasury official said. So this comes as U.S. budget talks in Congress are aiming for a 2-year deal that would end divisive fiscal showdowns that have plagued Congress since 2011, while also easing the severe across-the-board spending cuts that otherwise would be triggered in 2014 and 2015, a Republican negotiator said today. In an interview with Reuters, Representative Tom Cole of Oklahoma said that 29-member Senate House Negotiating Committee would like to achieve a 2-year budget, and while he said the talks were close to a deal, he emphasized that the deal were still being debated. It's like every time we turn around, really? It would ease a lot of the tension around here, Cole said, because after last month when federal agencies were shuttered for 16 days after government funding ran out on October 1st, the panel is racing against a December 13th deadline to reach a deal that would allow Congress to put funding in place before spending authority runs out again January 15th. Stop spending! That's the answer. We wouldn't have this problem. Come up with a real budget. While we would not provide specifics on the deal being negotiated, the 6th-term lawmaker characterized it in this way. It's likely to be a pretty small deal, something that trades some relatively modest savings and perhaps some small entitlement reforms, and maybe a little dab of revenue somehow. Such a deal, Cole said, would loosen up the sequester that requires across-the-board spending cuts of around $100 billion a year. Those cuts would hit the Pentagon and an array of other agencies that oversee everything from environmental programs to medical research and national parks. In other Obama White House news, Bill Clinton, Oprah Winfrey, and Gloria Steinem, amongst a few who receive the Medal of Freedom. Oh my God, you cannot be serious. Former President Bill Clinton, media mogul Oprah Winfrey, and feminist pioneer Gloria Steinem were among those honored with the Presidential Medal of Freedom at the White House. Yeah, what a joke. Let's move on. And speaking of jokes, Valerie Jarrett. Let's talk about her. Today, a feature in the National Review was all about her. I just hate that wretched woman has the same name as I do, too. You know what? That's why I started going by Val instead of Valerie. Seriously. I'm kidding. So Valerie Jarrett considers herself someone who takes criticism constructively and is low on drama, just like her boss. In an interview with the Squire in April, Jarrett recalled being asked during a panel discussion whether it was more important to be respected or liked. She said, "My view is you can actually be both," she said, if you add being decent. Yet her critics in the White House have complained, living in fear of Jarrett's scolding late-night phone calls and being on the receiving end of her signature put down. "You're hurting the president." I'd like to hurt the... No, I can't say that. FBI will be at my door. Obama biographer Jonathan Alter writes in the center holds Obama and his... I'm sorry. I just tickled myself with that whole last... Anyway, Obama biographer Jonathan Alger writes in the center holds Obama and his enemies, that Jarrett's colleagues even fear being called sweetie, which is Jarrett's subtle way of telling someone he or she is still in the doghouse. I can just see it now. No, sweetie. Jarrett's actual record as an advisor, in quotes, or whatever you want to call it, is marred with blunders. In 2009, she boasted about how delighted she was to have recruited Van Jones for the position of White House Green Czar. Jones served only a few months before resigning amid allegations that he had dabbled in 911 truthism. Not only that, but he was a self-proclaimed Marxist. They left that part out. I don't know why. She reportedly urged President Obama to personally address the International Olympics Committee. Remember that when he took off to the Olympics? While this crap was going down, he took off to the Olympics in Switzerland to demand that they put it in Chicago for the 2012 Summer Games, which was, of course, rejected. Jarrett also met with Chief Solyndra investigator George Kaiser at the White House, and despite warnings about her solar company's failing financial health, signed off on a scheduled appearance by the President at Solyndra's headquarters in California. Not to mention, I don't know if you recall this or not, but she tried to get a 4-star general to take her order and get her a drink. Wow. This woman's just insane. And she's running the country, basically. He doesn't do anything, apparently. It's reported that he doesn't do anything without asking her first. She's the one that got him elected. Her father and all those Chicago, mobsters. Speaking of criminals, a confessed serial killer on death row since 1977 finally gets what's coming to him. I just think it's crazy that it took so long. An article on CNN reports, CNN.com reports that white supremacist serial killer Joeseph Paul Franklin was executed this morning after the U.S. Supreme Court rejected his final request for a stay. The Missouri Department of Public Safety told CNN. The execution, which has been scheduled for shortly after midnight Wednesday, or yesterday, like this morning, Tuesday, whatever, was delayed for hours because of a court appeals. Franklin was administered a lethal injection at 6:07 a.m. Central Standard Time. He died 10 minutes later. Franklin refused his final meal and gave no final statement. He was on death row for the 1977 murder of Gerald Gordon outside a synagogue in St. Louis. He was blamed for 22 killings between 1977 and 1980 in a bid to start a race war. Jesus, and this guy is still alive. 1977, people. Jeez. Missouri Governor Jay Nixon denied clemency for Franklin on Monday, saying he had committed merciless acts of violence fueled by hate. In addition to the killings, Franklin admitted to the attempted assassination of Hustler magazine publisher Larry Flynt in 1978 and civil rights leader Vernon Jordan in 1980. All right, see, that's what I don't understand. If he's been on death row since 77, they're reporting that he tried to kill people in 78 and 80, so this has got to be incorrect. Anyway, I'll look into more of that. Anyway, Flint, who was paralyzed by Franklin's bullet, has called for clemency for Franklin, saying the government has no business at all being in the business of killing people. I can just hear him saying it like that. Sorry, just had to do that. Anyway. One of Franklin's final legal maneuvers focused on the drug used for the lethal injection, phenobarbital. His attorneys argued that the injection would violate the Constitution's ban on cruel and unusual punishment. Jeez, really? Seriously? Compared to what he did to 22 freaking people, you're worried about his cruel and unusual punishment? On Tuesday, U.S. District Judge Nanette Larry granted a stay of execution, finding Franklin's lawyers showed the use of phenobarbital carried a high risk of contamination and prolonged unnecessary pain beyond that which was required to achieve death. Man, these people were just ridiculous. Seriously, ridiculous. I would have done way worse things to the guy. I mean, think about back in the day what they would have done to these people. There was no simple little, you get a shot and you're put down like my dog was last week. I'm sad. Anyway. But I mean, you got hung, you got beat, you got stoned. And not with marijuana either. Stoned. Anyway, given the irreversible nature of the death penalty and plaintiff's medical evidence and allegations, a stay is necessary to ensure that the defendant's last acts against Franklin is not permitted. irremediable, cruel, and unusual punishment in violation of the 8th Amendment. Another federal judge granted a second stay Tuesday based on a separate defense petition contesting Franklin's competency. Oh, I didn't even want to. I don't even want to read any more of this. It's just sickening. It's really sickening. It's that we allow people like this to stay on death row because we're afraid of cruel and unusual punishment. Why do you think they're on death row? I mean, seriously, you don't just get put on death row. Especially someone that confesses. I mean, it's different I think, it's not different, but when somebody's proclaiming they're innocent, most of the times they're not. But, I mean, somebody's confessed to a crime, like, actually confessed and said he did it, because he was trying to do what God wanted him to do. That's what this guy said. I mean, he admitted to the crime. Why wait so many years to kill him? Just get it over with. Take him out and back and shoot him. Let the families do it. Let them all take aim and pop shot at him. If you want him to suffer, just let him shoot his kneecaps out. I mean, it's cruel and unusual punishment. Really, how did he kill these family members of these people? I just think it's cruel and unusual punishment to make someone who has lost a loved one to a serial killer know that this guy is sitting in prison and nobody wants to be cruel and unusual in punishing him. That's cruel and unusual punishment. Anyway, so I got an update on a few of yesterday's news stories that I touched on. First, there's Senator Creigh Deeds of Washington. Yesterday, it was reported that Senator Deeds was stabbed by his son, and then his son shot himself. Of course, new details are emerging, and it appears that Gus Deeds was a young man with a mental health issue, as Time magazine reports. The issue of mental health was more than a personal for Senator Deeds. After the Virginia Tech shooting, Deeds was among the state lawmakers who championed a wave of mental health reforms designed to improve the state's ability to protect individuals at risk of harming themselves and others. Tragically, it became all too real this week. Apparently, his son Gus underwent a state-ordered emergency mental health evaluation on Monday, but was released the same day. Authorities say Gus attacked his father early Tuesday morning by the horse barn on the family compound, which occupies the top of the wooded knoll. Despite his injuries, the elder Deeds broke free, escaping down a hill and out to Route 42, the two-lane highway that bisects the rural municipality of just 4,700 residents. A sheriff's deputy says it was a cousin who found the wounded Deeds and summoned medical attention. A few hours later, across the street, another cousin, Gerald Wood, alternated between staring at a cable news and answering the reporters' questions. Gus used to come by here trick-or-treating, recalls his wife Betty Wood, and every Christmas we'd get a Christmas card. On school breaks, she remembers he would join the local men who'd play music in the hunting cabin in front of their house. You just wonder what happened and why, she said. Wow. I think that is, that's what we need to look at, folks. We need to look at the mental health issues. There's so many, all these violent crimes, typically, and this just goes to prove that it's not the guns that we need to address. Okay, it's not, let's just take everyone's gun away. He stabbed his father. And like I posted a picture back when all this stuff was going on with Sandy Hook, I posted a picture of a knife, of a scary-looking blade, as opposed to a regular blade. It's not the weapon that needs to be banned. It is the mental health issues that these individuals have. And apparently his father was trying to address that, but what did they miss? And what could they have caught on to? And I think that sometimes as parents, because I'm a parent, and I think that we also don't want to accept that our children may be violent and they could possibly harm us. But then there are also parents that report that they're scared to death to go to sleep at night because they know that their child is that violent. I can't imagine living with that fear. But it is something that needs to be addressed in this country, and the answer isn't take your guns away. The answer is to address this problem head on and stop avoiding it. And what can we do about it? That needs to be the roundtable discussion. What can we do about mental health? And I hope that gets more looked at. And I'm sorry this happened to Senator Deeds. Don't agree with his politics, but I don't wish this upon anyone. This is horrible. And then there was Rep. Radel of Florida. ABC News reports that Florida Republican Congressman Trey Radel appeared in a Washington, D.C. court today and pled guilty to 1 count of cocaine possession. Radel, who admitted to being an addict, was placed on 1-year probation with minimal supervision. He promised to seek treatment. Your Honor, I apologize for what I've done, the congressman said to Judge Robert Tignor in a low voice. I've hit rock bottom. I realize I need help and have aggressively sought the help. I am sorry to be here. I know that I've let my constituents down, my country down, and most importantly, my family, including my 2-year-old who does not know it yet. Radel, 37, said he is seeking treatment so he can be a better man, better husband, and continue serving his country. Really? Stop right there. Why is it that we allow people to run our country and put all of our faith in them and give them access to all of our money, and we do not give them a drug test before they take office? Or before they even vetted, or random drug testing. I mean, most people have to take drug tests to keep their job. Why do you not have to do the same to keep yours? And I think that, as I said yesterday, I think this needs to be the case. And not only that, but now he has to take time away and go into rehab. Who's going to stand up for his constituents? Who's going to stand up for this guy's constituents? Nobody. The freshman congressman was the target of an undercover sting operation, prosecutors told the court. Radel, according to sources, first came on the radar of federal authorities when a suspected cocaine dealer under investigation by a joint drug and DEA administrator and FBI task force told agents one of his customers was a Florida congressman. According to prosecutors, confidential sources told authorities that Radel had purchased cocaine on several occasions for his own use, and on occasion would share the cocaine with others. Oh, he likes to share. So he's socialist about his drugs, but not about his politics. About 10 p.m. on October 29th, Radel met a confidential source and an undercover law enforcement officer at a Washington restaurant. Prosecutors said at the restaurant, Radel told the two that he had cocaine back in his apartment and said they could go back and use some, according to the testimony. They declined the offer to share coke with Radel, but the undercover officer said he could sell him 3.5 grams to Radel. Prosecutors said outside the restaurant, Radel gave the undercover officer $260, and then inside the car, the undercover officer gave Radel the cocaine, according to prosecutors. When Radel stepped outside of the car, federal authorities approached him. He dropped the bag of cocaine on the street. Radel admitted to authorities that he bought cocaine. Ultimately, he and authorities went back to his apartment, where Radel retrieved another vial of cocaine and gave it to authorities, they told the court. What did you believe you were purchasing, the judge asked Radel. A drug. Cocaine. I plead guilty, the congressman replied. Radel's lawyer, David Shurtler, told the court he has a disease. He recognizes that it isn't a problem that is going away overnight. DEA Special Agent in Charge Carl Calder said in a statement after Radel's court appearance, "We want young people to see the price people pay for drug abuse and trafficking in cases like this, so they will resolve to live drug-free lives." In sentencing Radel to probation, Tigner noted that the congressman, it was his first-time offense, and probation gives Radel and others like him an opportunity to prove themselves. Really? You're a freaking congressman! I mean, you should get a harsher sentence. It should be like in the military. I mean, I know they're just people, but you should have to live up to a higher standard than that. You're a freaking role model. You're not Lil Wayne. You're a role model. All right, so now this one right here, this next story, this story right here, speaking of Lil Wayne, New York City Representative Grace Meng was robbed this week in Washington by a person who hit her in the back of the head and stole her purse as she fell. This is what her office said today. The attack happened at 8:34 p.m., the New York Times reported, on Tuesday near 6th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue Southeast, after Miss Meng Had dinner with a friend at a restaurant. She said, I remember walking and getting hit in the head and falling to the ground. Miss Ming, 38, recalled on Wednesday night in a phone interview. Then I don't remember anything until I was in the ambulance. She sustained a bruised chin and was examined at George Washington University Hospital, where she was given a CAT scan, or a CT scan. No arrests have been made as of Wednesday night, according to the United States Capitol Police. Miss Ming, a Democrat who was elected last year and represents the Flushing area of Queens, said she did not think the robber knew who she was. She returned to her normal duties on Wednesday, though she said she is taking it slow. It's a great reminder for all of us to be extra vigilant, she said. The representative expressed gratitude to many constituents who called with concern, as well as a measure of surprise about the robbery. I'm a tough girl from Queens, and I've never gotten mugged, she said. And I come to Capitol Hill, and I get attacked. Wow. So, which brings me to my point of reporting this story. I was in D.C. 3 weeks ago and had some meetings on the Hill, and I had pepper spray in my purse. Because you can't have a gun. You can't conceal carry. And come on, D.C. is one of the worst cities in the country for crime. We all know that. And, okay, so I'm checking in the Capitol Visitor Center, and I put my purse through the little x-ray machine, which actually went through the airport as well, and nobody said anything about this, so that's kind of strange, too. I just thought about that. Anyway, the female security guard says to me, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to step aside. And I was like, oh, crap, what did I leave in my purse, you know? You're always thinking, what did I forget? So she goes, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to take this out to the dumpster. Do not take it out of your purse, but take it out to the dumpster and throw it in the garbage. And I looked in my purse at what she was pointing at. It was my pepper spray, my mace. And I said, what? And she was like, it is illegal to have this in D.C. And I just looked at her and I said, well, how am I supposed to defend myself then? And she said, ma'am, I'm just going to have to ask you to go and throw it away, or I'm going to have to call authorities and detain you. And I was like, what? That is just insane to me. You can't have a gun, you can't have mace, unless you, check this, okay, this is, so apparently certain self-defense sprays or pepper sprays are not permitted in D.C. unless the person in possession of the spray follows the regulations detailed in the D.C. Code. These regulations include meeting certain age requirements and registering the product with the Metropolitan Police Department. You've got to be kidding me. I have to register my mace? And that's insane to me. That is absolutely crazy. I could carry around a bottle of scope and throw it in somebody's face. I mean, anyway, a person 18 years or older may possess and use self-defense spray in the exercise of reasonable force in the defense of the person or the person's property, only if it is propelled from an aerosol container labeled with or accompanied by blah, 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 blah. All these register a self-defense. The vendor must forward the registration from the Metropolitan Police Department. For more information or to receive a self-defense spray registration form, they can call the Gun Control and Firearms Registration Unit at 202-727-4275. How about you call them and tell them how stupid this is? I mean, if I want to visit the Capitol, you can't even be safe. So you have to learn karate. And what if I have a bum leg? I mean, then I can't really run. So what are you supposed to do? You can't really kick. I mean, I can kick somebody's butt. I'm not going to play. But, I mean, I can't have mace or pepper spray to protect myself. A woman in D.C. That's insane to me. That's just absolutely insane to me. I don't know how you feel about it, but I got in trouble, actually. Oh, another thing when I was there I want to tell you about, because I hadn't had a chance to talk about this. I kind of forgot about it. Do you know that you cannot take notes in the Senate? While the Senate, in the Senate gallery? I was sitting there taking notes, and the little usher guy comes over to me and says, excuse me, ma'am, you can't take notes in here. I was like, what? I almost got arrested in D.C., I'm telling you. There's so many ignorant things I wouldn't even thought about. Like, I had no clue that you could not take notes in the Senate gallery. It's just more proof that our government doesn't even belong to us anymore, folks. Just pay attention to these little things and share them when you can. Anyway, that's all I've got for tonight. I will see you tomorrow. Have a great night. Bye-bye.